Hey guys, JP here from Law by JP. I am here with a good friend of mine, Alex from Mutha Trucker News. He is one of the top news professionals in the industry for everything that is trucking, and we decided today we're going to talk about something that just came out on the news, which is Werner.
Yeah, no, you got that right, brother.
There is, out of Texas, a current kerfuffle going on in the law because there was an $89 million judgment against them, I guess, back in 2018. I don't have the article in front of me, but it seems as though there's some hoo-ha going on in the community about whether or not it was fair or justified. So decided we're going to talk about it today and see if we can get to the bottom of it. So
yeah, no, I appreciate you. No, thanks again
welcome
for
to
having me on the show, brother. It's one of those things where, for people that don't know, as truck drivers, right? Werner's a big company, but as truck drivers, we just feel like every time there's an accident, it's always the truck driver's fault. Recently on my show, Mutha Trucker News, I actually interviewed the wife of the truck driver that the RV popped his tire, went through the median, and went head on, and everyone passed away.
So let's talk about this. So yeah. I guess there's inbound traffic, one lane going one way, another going the other way.
Yeah.
And it seems as though the drivers of one vehicle ended up going, I guess, across the median.
Yep.
And crashing into a truck driver.
Yep.
Now, it seems as though, as the onion started peeling, that the truck driver was, I guess, on training.
Right. So in this situation, yeah. So the RV one was a different one, but that one was basically the same thing, right? It's just one of those things that, look, the truck driver is going straight. He's doing what he's supposed to do, or she's doing what she's supposed to do. And then somebody is losing control for some reason, going into the median, across the other side, and hitting the truck driver straight on. And even though the truck driver passed away or not passed away, they want to blame the truck driver for this. So in this specific case, it was I believe, it was a trainee, and the trainer, I believe, was in the bunk. Now, the policies of that, I don't work for Werner, but the policies, I'm sure, is that the trainer is supposed to be in the passenger side while the trainee is supposed to be driving, right? Probably not sleeping. So I'm sure they knocked that against them. And then the second part that they knocked against the truck driver was that it was the weather conditions weren't good, and there was a tow truck driver that closed down his speed to about 15, 20, and said that from his statement that the driver was going about 35, 45.
Right.
Which is 70.
And now, mind you, it's still below the speed limit. So, I wasn't there for the trial. I really haven't delved into the expert testimony or anything like that. But let's break it down. Let's talk about it. So, from a personal injury lawyer's point of view, right?
Right.
So there's three things. If somebody comes to my office, there's three things that I'm looking for. And the easiest way to remember it is MIL. If you want to make a MIL, you need MIL. M-I-L. Money, injury, and liability. Right? Right. So these are the first three things that we look at when we're diagnosing a claim to see whether or not we're going to be able to take it on, right? So money, they've got it, right? And they're going to have a huge insurance policy. And if not, it's a huge trucking company, so they've got assets. They can pay. And if I'm not mistaken, even they had a $150 million settlement, not even a few months during this time period as well. So they've got money, right? So we're good there. Injury. Well, I believe a child died. So what's the value of that? God bless. I mean, my heart goes out to the family. As a father, you can't put a price tag on that. So that's off the charts. So if you're looking at money, 10 out of 10. Injury, 10 out of 10. And liability. So now it's a question of who's liable for what and to what degree, to what extent. So
right.
Is Werner going to get off the hook? No, because they've got too much money and there's too much injury. So as a personal injury lawyer, I'm going to take that claim all day. Now, it's going to be up to a jury or a trier of fact to figure out how at fault or how much at fault, what percentage is going to be divvied up between each driver and everybody involved. So
right.
That's really where the risk is on a claim like this from the perspective of a personal injury lawyer. Now, is it going to be 100% fault? No. They ended up finding somewhere in the 70s, right? 69, 70% fault for Werner. Personally, I think that's super high. I would not have imagined it to be that high. But since the injury is so great and the victim is, it's a child, you're not talking about, some random person, you're talking about a kid. And whenever you're talking about a kid, it's going to pull the heartstrings because, you're going to have a parent on the stand. So, it's a very emotional and trying set of circumstances. So really, the biggest problem here is going to be, again, like I said, finding liability. So, and I can already hear people screaming, but it wasn't his fault,
That's what I'm saying here. Look,
and everything has two sides, So like, okay, what was the trainer gonna do from the passenger side that he couldn't do from the, sleeping in the bunk? Like, yes, that's a protocol. Yes,
right.
They breached protocol. Does that automatically mean that they were at fault for all of this? Not really. I would have attacked that. I would have attacked if I was the defense attorney, right? I would have attacked the testimony of the person who was driving the trailer. Okay, well, your trailer is different from this truck. Just because you might have had bald tires. You might, if you're driving a Prius in the traffic in the rain, is it the same as driving your SUV over a puddle?
Right.
It's not. So that sensation that you have in the car really can't. I would argue that it doesn't transfer 1-to-1. So him having to go 15 miles an hour doesn't necessarily mean that the trucker had to go also 15 miles an hour. So again, I think they were pulling at strings, and they Yahtzee, they won.
So because when it comes down to it, for people that don't know the case, Werner lost the case and then is now appealing it.
Right.
And from their appeal, it's that if that other person in the other side of the median did not lose control and crash into him head on,
right,
then nobody would have died.
Now, did they lose the appeal?
They're appealing it now.
Oh, they're appealing it now.
And they're appealing it now, and that is their argument.
Right. Well,
do you think that's a strong argument? I would think so. I mean,
I think how they
Yeah.
phrased it, I think they went a little bit overboard with because I think they said something along the lines of it could make somebody on the other side of the road 100% at fault. And I think they took out of context a little bit of what had happened because, obviously their job is to defend their company, their insurance company, and,
right,
and so forth, and defend their client. So I think they were a little bit boisterous from what I read. From what I read, and you can put the article there, is that, now people on the other side of the median have to be mindful and may be vicariously liable for somebody on the other side of the road. And so, just the simple fact of speeding now could put you 100% at fault for an accident that, happened on the other side of the road from somebody hitting you.
Right.
And I can see the argument. In this case, I also see the argument. Now, what do I personally think? Could they be 5% at fault, 10% at fault? Sure, maybe. 20% at fault. I don't know.
But 70, right?
But 70%?
So
again,
what do you think really went down is
so
the heartstrings of the jury?
Let me take my lawyer hat off.
Yeah,
What do I really think happened here?
Yeah.
You have a dead child and you have a company that has a lot of money. Do any of those jurors want to be the person that says your kid's life is worth nothing? Do any of the lawyers or judges, do any of the judges want to say, you know what, this case has no merit. Sorry, we side with the big company that has all the money. That's a tough pill to swallow as a judge or as a juror because you can do right by somebody, and there's all the emotions that come in start to trump some of the laws that are there. So are they really going with their gut and their heart or their brain?
On this one,
I'm gonna go. They went with
their heartstrings.
Right, they pulled the heartstring. They tugged on the right strings. They did an excellent job. My hat goes off to the personal injury lawyers on this claim because they did their job. They defended. They represented their client.
Trucker's gonna hate you for saying that.
Yeah, and it is what it is. Everybody has the right to representation, right? And in this case, that child needed to have a voice, and they had a very good voice. It led to a good result. And, again, if the fight's still going on, there's a reason for that as well. This is working its way through the process. It's a long, arduous, and difficult process. It took 4 years just for them to get a verdict. So imagine, 4 years of going back and forth with paperwork that could have, should have been resolved
Right.
with, a phone call. Hey, look, this is what happened. Pay me. So
it goes back to companies, or it goes back to people attacking big companies. And in this situation, you would say, now this is not you with your lawyer hat on, right?
And I say this a lot. The more you have to lose, right?
Right.
So it's unfortunate. And this is why many rich people choose, and companies choose, to move their assets in a way that they're protected so that they don't have to deal with this. Because what are you going to take from somebody who lives on their mom's couch? No offense to anybody who lives on their mom's couch. But, what are you going to take? The couch?
Right.
The cell phone, the guy's shoes? What are you going to take? Like, how are you going to make right by something that this individual does if they have nothing to take? I mean, there's no debtor's prison. Indentured servitude's not legal.
Yeah.
So how are you going to make things right? Life's not fair. The world's not fair. I mean, the law, what it's trying to do is make things fair. But I mean, it's not really, it's not reality. That we don't live in a utopia, right. And the laws try their best to balance out, what is right and fair with what is real and practical. So in this case, what's real is that a kid died through no fault of their own, and there's money somewhere. So, and just so happens that that on that day, that trucker wasn't lucky, and they messed up, and they did something that they knew they shouldn't have done, and it came to bear. And that's why we got rules. That's why that person knew they should not have been sleeping. They knew they should not have been driving. Okay. Does this add up to that? 1 + 1 = orange in this case a little bit, but again, follow the rules. There won't be a problem. The speeding. I think the speeding alone, they could have probably beaten that. But the fact that the other person was actually asleep, plus a child died. I mean, if they hammered the right points at the right time,
and you get a jury full of small children.
Yeah, full of parents of small children.
Own small children. Can I say that?
No, I don't know.
Your parents own small children? Or have? I mean, is the word have?
I would use have.
I apologize to people that don't own their children.
But
have children.
You mix that in a pot, and this is what you get.
I appreciate you. It's one of those things where, look, for all the drivers, JP's a good friend, and he's just arguing from what a standpoint would be as far as that goes. So we're just getting the information, because when truck drivers look at this, they look at it as, look, a dude from the other side of the lane lost control and crashed into a truck that was minding his own business. How the heck is it the trucker's fault?
Right.
And what I'm hearing from you is, you get a court and a jury and a judge, and you get a young kids that passed away type of thing, and heartstrings. And
now, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There is some fault. Fault for what, right? Fault for not accurately, instructing, right? Or for being there. There's for maybe speeding too fast for the weather conditions if they could prove it, maybe.
Right.
There's probably some fault for the training, for lack of training. There's some. There's a stretch,
and that could be
fault,
could be 5% fault.
Right. I don't
or
think
10%
I don't
fault.
think anybody can really argue that there was no fault.
Right. Okay.
There was fault. Right.
I'll give it up to 10%.
All right. So if we can if I can convince you that there was some fault, now I have a question for a jury. Now the jury.
Is that how that works?
Right. Now the jury gets to decide how much fault.
And here
the jury decided 70%.
This is BS.
That's beyond the scope of Well, that's beyond the scope of me as a lawyer or the law itself. This is up to a panel of our peers and random people picked from the populace, and this is what they decided. Now, again, as a non-interested party,
do
I agree with the valuation? No, I really don't.
No, I appreciate that.
But some fault, yes. Now, what's the even then, what's 5% of the value of a child's life? I have no idea. I mean, if it's my child, there's no number. So even 5% is $100 million, right? I mean, now that's good. That usually gets stricken by a higher court,
right?
But 70% of the value of the life of a child. Well, in this case, $89 million.
Well, I want to say this though, at least. I know I sound like I'm just fighting for the truck drivers. but I feel for the family too.
Yeah.
You know, rest in peace to the people, because there was I think the kid, a couple kids passed away. I think it was.
I mean, everybody involved. I mean, the truck drivers got to live with that for the rest of their lives.
Thank you for that.
Everybody who has been affected, not even like putting the money aside, everyone, the child,
That's
the
horrific.
parents, the drivers, everybody who was there, even the police officer who had to see that. The fire rescue who had to go. I mean, they had to go home with that on their minds. And it's
tough.
It's often not talked about. So this is a very horrible thing, and it happens all the time. And things like this usually don't even get compensated because I hate to say the word luckily, but in this claim, luckily there was at least some pocket that could be pinched in order to help alleviate as much as one could with money the situation. So honestly, like again, my thoughts go out to everybody.
I know this could go. I know it could go in circles with this conversation, but I'm glad to have it with you. You know what I mean? No, I appreciate it. Sorry if I was yelling a little bit. Raised my voice a little bit.
It's an emotional.
I'm not mad
topic.
at you. I'm just like, the trucker was just driving, and so for everyone listening as well, let us know, how do you feel about this?
Yeah.
Do you think that the trucking company should be at fault, or do you think that how much percentage, and do you think 70% or more was accurate?
So like, I'll tell you a personal tale myself personally. I was driving up to Sebring. We're here in Florida, and on US 27, and I'm driving in the left lane, and my buddy's in front of me, and my cousin's actually behind me, and I'm in this like souped up car that's my buddy's car because we're going to go to the racetrack to test it out. So I'm just going in the left lane, and I'm going the speed limit. Oddly enough, I'm going the speed limit because I don't trust this car. Right? And so I'm going the speed limit. It's not my car. And everybody's like, hey, hurry up, man, speed up. I'm like, nah, I'm okay. I'm good. We'll get there when we get there. My cousin was riding my butt. I actually called him. I'm like, hey, man, get off my ass. There's, your lights are, I can't see anything out of this car. I can't see. You're like right on my bumper. Back up. Leave enough space. So I'm leaving purposefully. I'm going 50, 60 miles an hour. I'm leaving 5-6 car lanes. I'm driving like the model citizen, right? And all of a sudden, out of the blue, US 27 is very similar to this instance where it's 2 lanes going one way, 2 lanes going the other way, and it's a little dark. It's like 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing white lights coming this way and red lights going that way. All of a sudden, the guy in front of me, my friend, he scoots into the right lane hard in the fishtails. I'm like, whoa, what happened? And in that amount of time, this is what happened to me. I see the 2 white lights. They're going this way, but then this time they're just getting bigger and bigger and spreading apart. Yeah, it turns out that it was a truck going the wrong way on US 27 at like 100 miles an hour.
What?
Yeah, this actually
And when you say truck, a pickup truck? Or?
This was, I couldn't even tell.
Right.
It was a big old truck. It was bigger than me.
Yeah.
And so he's going like 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. And now I turn my wheel and I start fishtailing out of the place, all over the place. And I go, oh man, I killed my cousin because he was riding my ass. Thankfully, he listened to me. He stayed 5 car lengths behind. He was able to see the whole thing and get out of the way too. We all survived. But I was going the speed limit. I was leaving 5 cars. I was doing the weather conditions were perfect. They were fine. And I lived, because if any of those things, if I had been going, if I had been speeding or my cousin had been too close to me, there would have been a tragedy on the road, because I don't know if that person was drunk or asleep or what, or thought that they had the right of way. Thankfully, they didn't move. They stayed in their lane. Like, I don't know what the hell they were thinking, but they stayed in their lane and we all got out of the lane. I don't know what ended up happening, but all I could say was, holy shit. That's the only thing that came out of my mouth. It's the only thing that came out of my mouth for half an hour. The whole, holy shit.
And look, this is how I feel about it. If he hits you...
Imagine I was going 56 miles an hour.
Just say he hits you, right?
Right.
I feel like this Werner situation, they'd find a way for it to be your fault.
Right. Imagine I was going 56 miles an hour. I mean, in this case, like I said, I was leaving enough space. I was driving the exact speed limit because of the conditions. If I had been in my own car, I would have been dead. If I'd have been in my own car, I felt comfortable driving it, just speeding and, going 90 or 80 miles an hour down the highway because there was nobody on the highway.
Yeah.
That would have been it. That would have been it for all of us.
But, it's
I actually saved everybody's life that day. And I got to tell you, as much as that sounds like dad advice, but the rules are there for a reason. And it's because, the common denominator is most people on the road are not really paying attention.
Right.
So...
No, I get it.
That's my story, guys. So, guys, if you're out there driving these long hours, please be careful. You know, those trucks are super heavy. They're super hard to maneuver, and there are a lot of idiots out there that are just gunning for you because there's, you know, unfortunately, there is a price tag on each one of these vehicles.
I'll tell you what, man. My man.
Dude.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, that was pretty good, man. I think we for our first one, I think that was excellent. So, guys, like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff at the bottom. You know, hit the bell notification icon. Please follow Mutha Trucker News and follow me at Law by JP. This has been another sit-down talk. I think we are going to probably end up doing these again more often. I had a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys learned something. And if you have any questions or if you have any more information on this particular topic, let us know in the comments below. Or, hey, heck, please give us your opinions because, you know, I'm not the end-all, be-all when it comes to opinions, right?
Right.
So
we're just reading articles. So sometimes the people writing articles, you know, as a disclaimer, some of this stuff could be wrong. Yeah. Maybe he wasn't sleeping. Maybe he was sleeping on the passenger seat. I mean,
having been privy to cases that have hit the news myself, I've read articles about cases that I'm handling. I'm like, this is not exactly right. So so we're really just going off the headlines. If you have some more information, again, love to hear about it. Maybe we'll do a follow-up video. Yeah. And again, prayers go out to everybody involved on this one. It was a really sad story.
Yeah, it is. No, cool. We're good.
Have a good one, guys.